Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jazakallahu khairan. I have two questions. I'm going to hopefully only ask one. We reach out to the younger generation. I grew up here similar to yourself, Sheikh Yasir, and gone through a lot of the phases in my life which I wish I didn't go through, and I've experienced stuff which I wish I didn't, but it is part of my past. When I'm trying to reach out to the youth, is that something that I use to connect with them or not? Do I talk about, yes, I've been through this, and maybe if it's an exact same similar situation, do I tell them that I've done that to befriend them, or do I not do that to keep that respect and that gap between it? That's question one. Question two is, I've noticed today that, I don't know if it's because of Facebook and MySpace or whatever, kids aren't hiding their sins. Kids are not hiding. In my generation, we hid it from our friends. We didn't tell our friends we were doing X, Y, and Z. But the generation today seems to be open about it, and I haven't been able to, and I'm been able to figure out why. Maybe you three can shed some light to that. Jazakallahu khairan.
So the first issue is about mentioning your own sins and issues. I would say each situation requires its own wisdom. So when there's no need to be specific about your sin, you can speak in generics. You can say, look, there are people that have done these things before you. They've experienced it firsthand. And you can say it in a way that, with the details and level that they know it's you, but you don't say it was me. Okay? There's a level of wisdom there. There's no need to expose your sins. Also there's a difference between sins and basically bad manners. I mean, we've all had bad manners with our parents when they were teenagers, right? So I said that to you. I was 17, I had a few fights with my mom and dad. Okay, that's not quite like a sin. It's like, you went through phases. However, if you actually fell into a major sin and you did something that, it's embarrassing to mention in public, don't mention it unless there's a legitimate need. So you meet a kid who's going down that path. You tell him, you sit him down, you say, look, I've been there, done that. I've done this. I know what it does to you. This is what it does to you. Because it is allowed to mention sins if you want to warn people from falling into them. What is haram is you mention sins out of pride and boastfulness. And that leads us to the second issue. And that is, wallahi, you're absolutely right. And this is scary to me, that in the span of 20 years, so much change has happened. I think we both grew up in the 80s, right? In the 80s, a little bit in the 90s. Okay, well, close enough. I grew up in the 80s. You did certain things, and it's still embarrassing to say it, You're still an element of haya, of basically modesty. And yet, within the span of basically 20 years, things have changed so radically. Doesn't that make you think that within another 20, what's going to happen? This is a fact of life. The world around us is changing. And what's happening is our children are acting like their peers. When our peers weren't boastful of their sins to the level that our children are, we too were not boastful. So this is our job once again, to inculcate them, with haya, to make sure that they are raised in a household that understands what is modesty and respect. And that basically means you have to talk the talk and walk the walk. You have to live your life with your wife and your friends in a manner that your children clearly see night and day. Public schools like this, home is like that. And perhaps they might do things that are not right, but when they grow up, they'll always remember, oh look, this is the way it should be. Because I have a saying, they all come around in the end. When you have iman, we've gone through stages. Eventually you come back, Our children, a'udhu billah, they might go a little bit beyond what we went. But if we have raised them properly, they'll always have that safety net. They'll always know this is what we need to do in the end. So my advice to you is, you need to talk the talk and walk the walk. You need to show them what real modesty is in the household. And we're living in a time, wallahi, fahisha and evil is everywhere. How much can you do? فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah as much as you can. Make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal to protect you and your children. Show them the right way. And then leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's only, so much that can be done.
But I think also maybe